Hello and welcome again to Mind Renovation Nation, the show brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. I am your host, Nathan Bush, and each show we share with you real life experiences that we're having in real estate. We help you explore as industry influencers, or whether you're just getting into real estate, some of the challenges and navigations of market research, property management, background understanding of what to do in different events when it comes to real estate. If you want more of these types of resources on a regular basis, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or head over to www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe and get more information like this. You can also check out some of the information in the description. Today, we're going to have an amazing guest. His name's David Randolph. But before I get into that conversation with David, who's a short sale expert, I want you to do me a favor. It is Groundhog Day. Imagine a world where groundhogs not only predicted the weather or the future of whether we were going to change seasons, but manage your rental property. What would that look like? Okay, today we're going to talk with David Randolph, who's going to help predict the future of real estate investing, at least when it comes to short sales, because this guy really knows what he's talking about. If you've ever wondered how to buy a property and to buy a property at a discount, make over $100,000 on a flip that you're trying to accomplish. This gentleman's not only done it once, but has done it with tons of times with other real estate investors. And he is the featured guest in today's show. Hi, David, and welcome to the program.
Hey, Nathan, I'm really glad to be here. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with your people, and I appreciate what you do, Nathan.
Yeah, it's incredible. We actually met David Randolph, guys, at a St. Charles County Real Estate Investors Association group meeting. They meet the first Wednesday of every month at the Walnut Grill in O'Fallon. So if you're looking for a group or a place to go and you like to see David on a little bit more regular basis, you can attend that group. Sometimes he's there, sometimes I'm there, and that's a good place to get to know us. But David, before we get too far into kind of your background and your background story, do you remember this scene from Groundhog Day with Bill Murray where he kept doing the same day over and over and over and over again? You remember that scene in Groundhog Day?
Man, I tell you what, I got stuck in a groundhog loop, and I've probably seen it 15 times. I was groundhogged by the movie over and over. And it was so funny how the movie just continued to repeat.
And what's really crazy is that you kind of have gotten into Groundhog Day with making money in real estate. Like, you are the person, when I think of somebody who understands how to make large sums on renovated projects, like, you're the person. And it's not in the renovation, it's in understanding how to buy those properties, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. Okay, that's a caveat real estate, entrepreneurs rule. You're going to be making your money when you buy it, not when you sell it. So in other words, you got to find the right deal, the right process, and the right tool to use with it. So you're exactly right. And by the way, you misspoke a little bit when you did the intro. You were saying making $100,000 on my rehabs. That's actually true, but it's 100,000 or more. Okay. I've got students who have made 100,000 wholesaling it, no rehab. Okay. So in short sales, you're making a lot more money than you know about, Nathan. You can wholesale residential houses, do no rehab to it, and make $100,000 profit in today's short sale market, and nobody knows it.
That's insane. You're talking about markets, and one of the biggest pains people have is uncertain market predictions. Why don't you share with everybody, since this is Groundhog Day, why don't you share a little bit about your background, and then also share with people kind of how you feel about the uncertain market that we're in right now. Kind of make your prediction.
Okay, well, I've been in real estate for 14 years. I'll give you my 60-second, 90-second elevator speech we do when we go to network meetings. Back in the old days, pre-pandemic, there was a lot of those. And that basically was, hi, my name's David Randolph. I rehab about 5 to 10 houses a year. One of my claims to fame is that I have sold all my houses in 7 days or less at list price or higher for 14 years. My rehabs are drop dead gorgeous. They've all sold over list, at list or over for 14 years. Now I have an unfair advantage though, Nathan. I make $50,000 to $150,000 profit on each house. Okay, so it's real easy to sell it in 7 days if I'm making 150,000, and I do that by the method of short sale. In other words, I negotiate a short sale. Now they are not on the MLS. Okay, these are with the homeowner, stopping the foreclosure, saving their bacon, okay, and then negotiating with the bank directly. Okay, so this is directly negotiating with the bank. That's how I bought my houses. And so over that time period of 14 years, I became a hard money lender. I've been blessed to have over $3 million in cash in my retirement accounts. And that's like could be like a cardinal sin, right? To have cash sitting around. But I ended up becoming a hard money lender because my heart was to help new rehabbers get started. So in my lending program with my money, not someone else's money, I give them all the money to buy the house, fix the house up, points on the loan, monthly interest payments, everything. They paid all back. And there's a lot more that goes with that. I'm not here to talk about that lending program, just giving you my experience. Now, about 4 years ago, people who know me, okay, like the St. Charles Area Group and John Heyer and Jeff Watson and these other big people said, hey, you need to teach people how to do short sales. So 4 years ago, I did a presentation here in St. Louis, Missouri. 150 people showed up to hear about short sales. I was so nervous, I sat the whole time. And at the end, they got all mad at me because there was nothing to sell. Okay, and so now I'm now educating other real estate investors all across the country because the short sale method is federal. It's identical process for the short sale across the country. Matter of fact, Nathan, my last 4 students each made over $100,000 profit on their very first short sale. Okay.
Now that's insanity, David. And it is we talk about that, and I want to get a lot more into your short sale. In fact, I'm going to pull up on the screen for everybody a copy of your short sale class that you have coming up. If you don't want to watch the whole show, but you're like, this David guy, I want to get more information to him, you can go to thedavidrandolph.com/free-2-hour-short-sale-workshop/ and that will pull up the page. However, I also posted it in the notes. So if you got the description pulled up, or if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, you can click on the link. It will take you directly to this page to register for a free 2-hour short sale class with David Randolph. I highly recommend, if you want to learn how to do this process, buy these things on short sale, you download and register that class right now today. Like, don't wait, just go do it right now. Even if you have to click off my show, just go register. All right, guys, back to David though. We were talking about market conditions. So I get it now that I can buy a house and make a lot of money on a short sale, but like, is the market ready for short sales, David? Are we in a situation where people can even buy short sales?
Well, yeah, and I was kind of leading up to that. And thank you for that shameless plug there. It is a totally free workshop. You can actually text easier for people. You can text the word WS for workshop, WS, to my phone number at 636-685-2990 and get that same link. If you can't remember all that stuff, and if you can't get to it, you can just text WS. But what I was saying, when these students are making $100,000 on their first short sale, it's not because I'm a good teacher. It's not. Okay. Now my material absolutely works, but I'm not a great teacher. I'm a regular guy like you and other investors here. What it is, Nathan, is the banks are dumping the houses, and let me tell you why the economy is causing that to happen. Why are they able to buy houses like that? And it's because in this current economy, you look at where we came from and look at where we're at now. So just a real 2-minute description of where we came from and where we are. You remember this thing called COVID-19, this pandemic, this moratorium, this CARES Act. We had a moratorium that stopped people making payments on their mortgage, and people didn't even know about it. we all marched on Washington, D.C. because our renters didn't have to make payments. All of us landlords, okay, everybody listening on here is probably a landlord. Okay, maybe half of you use Nathan, okay, to manage them. Yeah, you should be doing that. And so, we all marched on DC because renters didn't have to pay. Well, in that same CARES Act, homeowners didn't have to make their mortgage for 18 months. So we have over 2 million delinquent loans, Nathan, today. Delinquent loans, 2 million people. They can never make that money up. They can't catch up. They can't refinance because interest rates went up. Okay, so now let's look at where we're at in today's market now that the moratorium was lifted, okay, in 2021. Now the banks need to foreclose, but they're having a difficult time. Okay, there's a huge backlog, okay, of foreclosures, but the banks don't have the foreclosing attorneys to do the process. Okay, so this is a golden opportunity for investors everywhere to step in, help families out, okay, help the banks out, because you have a catastrophic explosion in the economy going on right now, but it actually doesn't have the oxygen to explode. Okay, somebody opens the door to it, and you got a really wild time in this economy. But right now, when you turn in an offer on a short sale, the bank thinks it's better than a foreclosure. That's their policy, their guidelines. Their $1 million studies say if we receive an offer for a short sale, take it because it's better than the option of foreclosure. So as investors, when we step in, now I'm not saying just turn in any old offer. You got to follow the right process. But but the quick economic thing here, Nathan, is this backlog of people, okay, and then the interest rates that have increased, and then you've got the unemployment of over 1.2 million people unemployed in this country. So there's a lot of underground factors that people don't realize that are taking place right now.
That's absolutely the fact. In fact, a lot of landlords even deal with this $1.2 million worth, or 1.2 million people that are unemployed right now with tenant retention challenges. Like placing good tenants in good jobs in good markets is difficult enough, but placing good tenants in these homes that were paying the rents is even more challenging in markets when they start to turn and adjust, like what we see what's going on right now in the economy. Why don't you speak a little bit for the investors that are watching that own real estate right now to maybe some of the tenant retention challenges that you have seen, that you saw through the pandemic, that is causing this issue?
Well, I mean, the tenant had for a long period what they thought was a free ride. Okay. And so you really had to have a great management company that was working with those tenants to keep them, I don't want to say out of the government system, right? But trying to work with that tenant to make sure they had the ability to pay their rent and weren't, trying to use the government excuse, that you don't have to pay it. And then that brought in this some type of federal help, that they tried to give landlords that was just a giant cluster. Okay. And managing that was a giant mess there. So really, I think, it's in my opinion, the tenant, retention challenges are, don't do this without a net and hire a professional. It's about all I can try to say, without getting into too many, problems and details, of that, because there's a lot of huge issues going on with that.
It creates a lot of short sale opportunities, though, that had been developed over through post-pandemic because tenants weren't paying. And so now they're moving out and leaving, trying to find good tenants for some of their units in maybe different areas or whatnot that are maybe changing and the markets are shifting. Now it's becoming even more difficult. And I think that we'll probably find more of these short sale opportunities popping up all over. In fact, what are some of your market predictions for 2024 that will better help everybody understand where we're at and where we're going?
Well, I think you always have to look at what are your financial objectives, your financial object, not objections, but your financial goals.
Goals and
Okay.
yeah.
And what are your exit strategies, right? Okay. So, we want long-term wealth. We want, passive income. We want rentals and long-term wealth. How do you get to that point though? You don't just snap your fingers and you're there. So a lot of people, like, let me give an example of my hard money lending program. 20% of all the people I fund are landlords who are doing this process, this strategy right now. Okay. And I'll explain why they're doing it in a second. But what 20% of them are doing in my lending program is they're coming to me to buy a house, to fix it up and sell it and get a large chunk of money from that. Okay. Do say 2 houses, take that money and use it as a down payment to buy an apartment unit or a multi-unit, maybe a quad, something like that. So they're doing this, this 2-in-1 approach, rehabbing a couple houses and then buying one that they can long-term finance, but you needed that down payment with it and stuff. And so a lot of those people, are doing that, right now that are coming, to me on my lending program. And so that's, and that's where this works well with this. Nathan, what I'm about to say has not happened in the past 14 years. Okay.
Oh,
this is totally mind blowing. And it's gonna describe why there's such a dichotomy between short sales and the rest of the economy. Right now, the months of inventory of homes all across the country is generally, 2 months or less. We can look in St. Louis. I think they said it was 1.2 months in St. Louis. We're not even Austin, Texas. My gosh, we're just Podunk, St. Louis, Missouri. Yet we only have, 2 months of inventory. So that says, okay, remember, I'm the guest on your show, so I get to give you my opinions of the economy, right? So this is my opinion. When you have 2 months of inventory, can we say balls to the wall? Is that okay? Can we say it on here? You should be going balls to the wall on rehabbing houses because you have a need out there. And totally that is separate from the short sale world. The banks don't know that they don't even know there's 2 months of inventory. They don't know that you're going to rehab the house. They don't know you're going to sell it for a profit. They're looking at the fact that they're a bank and they've got fiat currency. It's a 15-to-1 ratio. If they have a non-performing loan, it works in reverse. They got to take 15 times off their books. That's the short sale world. And you've got this world out here where you can make huge profits, okay, that you can use for, multifamily. You can use it for, just single family, residential. There's a lot of targets. When you got cash, you can do a lot with it. And so I think that's really what's going on in this economy right now.
Absolutely. And just let me take a second, David, and thank our sponsor, Web Insurance, our second sponsor of the show, Web Insurance. Let Web Insurance be your guide. They can review your current coverages and make sure that you have the correct policies in place at the most affordable prices. And what their clients love about them at Web Insurance is every year they proactively shop your insurance to ensure you're truly with the most affordable carrier with the appropriate coverages. From contractors to real estate investors, let Web Insurance be your guide. You can visit www.webinsurance.com. That's 2 B's, www.webbinsurance.com for more information or to get a quote on your insurance. Now back to our program with David Randolph. David is a short sale expert, and if you're just tuning in, David understands and knows how to make well over $100,000, I learned, on a flip or renovation through not necessarily the renovation process. That's part of what he shares and teaches it within his program. But he also does this, teaches you how to buy the property and how to buy it at a discount through a process called short selling. He's gone through the market and explained how everything is primed right now in order to be able to take you to the next step of really making some significant money on your flips, if that's what you're wanting to do. And before I get into the flipping aspect, because, David had mentioned that you should be going all out, hauling butt right now, trying to make sure that you get as many flips in. Let's talk about this aspect of short sales, David, before we get too far into the flipping aspect. Long-term investment strategies, how past trends inform our future predictions. So part of what we should be doing right now that you talked about is the flips. But then you said you have 20% of people in your hard money program flipping 2 houses, turn it into long-term investments. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, we want wealth, right? This is why we're in real estate. And ideally, we want passive wealth. Okay, but there's a point in a time in everybody's life where you may not be able to just start out getting passive income. And so sometimes you're basically trading your time okay, or your knowledge or something, and it's a journey. It's a thing that you're growing through. And so you have to look at, where are we at in the economy and what's happening, with this. So, we've got the situation where, you can wholesale homes, you can rehab homes, and so you have to look at, what's your method of buying houses. And so over time, you look at where is the stress points, in the economy, and what's happening. And in 2009 and 10, it was very obvious across the country. Everybody agreed foreclosures were huge, right? Okay, because it was a national emergency, a great recession at that time. And so, even the CNNs and the Fox News, stations were all talking about, foreclosures, and home prices were dropping, and dropping. Okay, with it. And so you can look at those, past trends to see where things are coming in and happening, and so right now, we're looking at the fact that, we've got 2 million delinquent loans in this country that you can't just allow people to live in their house. Matter of fact, one of the statistics is that even during the peak of that, Great Recession, the number of days late, for homeowners back then was like 710 days late, as a nationwide average. We hit over 1,200 days late a couple of months ago. In today's market right now, we are beyond a stress point greater than the Great Recession. And so, looking at those trends, what happened back then? Okay, 710 days. Okay, the banks were not allowed to keep letting people live in these houses, for free. And so that things, stepped in and they started, taking action. Right now, we're beyond that point, but we have a situation of, when is this going to, happen? When's this foreclosures going to increase? Well, I'll tell you what, it's increasing almost every single month. Okay, we're starting from a low point of 0 during the pandemic, and we're just coming back into, that part of the economy where we've got interest rates that have risen, dramatically. And yeah, okay, so, but Dave, they just fell a little bit last month. Hey, that's really great. Did they fall back to 2.5%? No, they didn't.
No, not at all.
We're excited they fell from 8 to 7. Okay, and so that's all the cost of money, and that all affects, where they're at. And so you have to really look at what's your financial goals and where you're at in your journey. But right now, I can tell you that banks are increasing their foreclosures every single month. Okay, short sales are defined as so. So I'm going to really blow the people on, blow the people's mind that are listening to this. If we were to ask people, what's your definition of a short sale? Every investor would normally say, with one sentence, would say, well, a short sale is when you owe more than what the house is worth. That's what the general investor says. Okay, but I'm like, nah, that's dead wrong. That is not the definition of a short sale. People don't understand that. A short sale is when you miss one house payment. You can't do a short sale unless they've missed a payment. Okay, so by the reverse, you miss one payment, it is a short sale. And then you're like, but Dave, didn't you hear there's so much equity in all these houses? Really? I'm going to say, so what? That's irrelevant how much equity is in the house. And here's how I can back that up. Black Knight, this data statistic company, okay, they now were renamed to ICE. They did a study back then when they were called Black Knight. So you can look this up, 30-year study of all foreclosures across the entire country. And they looked at all the homes with 40% equity, 40%. They could have snapped their finger and sold that home on the MLS and gotten out of their situation. They could have easily snapped their fingers. Instead, Nathan, 1/3 of those homeowners went to foreclosure. You weren't there, Nathan. Your listeners weren't there to help the family out. They went to foreclosure. That's your short sales. That's where you can stop in and help that family, okay? And you can make tremendous amounts of cash now that you can funnel into, multifamily, single family residentials. That you got to get this, cash is king, right? We know cash is king. That's why we want to be a passive investor, to get that cash, and stuff. And so get that cash so you can buy more rentals with it. And so anyway, I wanted to explain to people what a short sale was so they kind of fully understand that.
So Dave, I know because I know my audience. I know that there's people out there listening now because people know me, and I promote a lot. I promote a lot in the links and the descriptions. I'm always promoting things, and so I'm obviously promoting your short sale course because I believe in you and I trust you. I don't promote things I don't believe in. So the interesting thing for me, though, I can hear my audience right now thinking to themselves, "But Dave, that all sounds great." And it might work for you, but can I actually buy a short sale? Is that even is this fathomable for me? You're a real estate investor. You do this all the time. Is this fathomable? Is tangible for me? Can I really buy a house on short sale?
Well, absolutely. And the reason is all across this country, it is legal for you to talk to the bank and negotiate a short sale. Only in California and Florida do you have to work with a realtor, a licensed realtor or a attorney. But in Missouri, Illinois, pick any, Idaho, every state, the common person can be authorized by the homeowner to speak to the bank. Okay. And so then when you learn the steps in the process, I mean, you don't go drive your car. You don't send your 16-year-old out there and say, hey, here's the keys, go drive. No, you teach them how to drive. And so when you know how to do short sales, everybody that's 16 years old is eligible to get their driver's license. Everyone's eligible to do a short sale. If you're in Florida and California, it just says you have to work with a realtor. Okay. And that's perfectly fine because I actually teach you in all 50 states to have a realtor on your team. Realtors are very important people in this process, but you're not going to get them off the MLS. You're not. Look, you talked about that workshop. I will show you the website to go to get the names and addresses of these short sales in my 2-hour free workshop. There's no charge to get in. There's no charge to get out. It's a completely free 2-hour description of short sales and how they work. And I'll show you in there how to go to the internet and get these names and addresses. So absolutely, Nathan, anybody can do this.
So what's that phone number in the text that you want them to send so that I can make sure that if they're interested in the short sale class, they can just do this real quick right now? What's that phone number?
Yeah, the phone number is 636-685-2990. And you just text WS for a workshop, WS to that phone number, and it'll get you a link into that free masterclass. But yeah, anybody in the United States can do short sales. You don't have to be a realtor. You don't have to be an attorney. You don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or anything.
That's incredible, Dave. Before we go too much further, I want to take a second to thank our next sponsor of the show. Our next sponsor is BBC Global Services. They are outsourcing that helps people like you focus on your superpowers. They're simple and on your terms with no term limits or minimums. You can get a free consultation with no obligation from our sponsor, BBC Global Services. Just go to www.bbcglobalservices.com and talk with a representative, and they can help take the administrative work off of your back so you can focus on maybe even pivoting your business and doing a couple more short sales from time to time. So I'd like to thank BBC Global Services as our second sponsor. Now back to our program. We are talking with David Randolph, who is a short sale expert. He has got an upcoming class that you're going to want to attend. It's all about how to buy short sales, how to make over $100,000 on short sales. This gentleman has worked with many clients all across the United States, helping them to do short sales, whether you're watching in Arkansas or Kansas or St. Louis, or maybe you're watching, he even talked about in Florida or California. He'll show you the process, show you exactly how to do it, and make sure that you can buy these properties correctly so that you can make large profits, turn them into large sums of cash so that you can put down payments on cash flowing long-term assets. That's the whole reason I wanted to bring David Randolph onto the program, guys. You know, Red Maples, we do small multifamily real estate rentals, and David Randolph is an expert on how to buy these properties and do the fix and flip process. There's nobody in the entire country that does this better than David Randolph on the short sale aspect, and he will help you find the deal, help you understand the deal, underwrite the deal. Heck, if you don't have the money, he's telling you he'll lend you the money on the deal. Like you just gotta go through the process and understand, because he can't do all of the short sales himself. So he needs other people throughout the country to go out and do this process on his behalf. So David, we've talked a number of times at the meetup group, and every single time you talk at the meetup group, I learn something new. Let's say that somebody is skeptical of taking your class and they just don't, I'm not going to go take that class, but I want to learn something from David right now. What is one technique, one tool, one tip that you could give somebody in the short sale process that will help them understand that you're an expert at what you're talking about?
Well, I think that, basically, I think that one key that I talked about was that, simply when you miss one house, see, so many people say, well, there's so much equity in houses, there are no short sales. That tip I already gave, I think, was the most valuable when you understand that it's about the homeowner and where they are at in life that makes that a short sale situation. So many people aren't even looking to help families out because they think that they've got equity. And that's not what the case is with them. It's not why they are financially in trouble. It's because of health issues, divorce issues, and other issues like that. I think the number one tip that I can do here, for people is that basically all across the country, all short sales are posted in the county legal newspaper. So all across the country, and this is federal, short sales are a federal process, and all of them across the country by law must be posted for a certain number of days in the county legal newspaper. Now, this is the newspaper where, government contracts, divorces, foreclosures, that's a term. You could ask the mayor of your city, what is our county legal newspaper? And all across the country, you can find the names and the addresses of those people in that county legal newspaper. And so I show you that in that workshop of how to find the internet version of the county legal newspaper. That's probably the biggest tip that anybody on here can do is go out and Google your county legal newspaper and get started with me or without me. Just help families out. Look, guys, don't focus on the hunt. My last student just last month, John in Chattanooga, made over $132,000 on a $280,000 house. $132,000 on a $280,000 house. Okay, it's not about the money for you. It's about helping the family out. Okay, you're getting them time to stay in that house where they're making no payments, saving their money up. You're helping the bank to give them some money on closing. Okay, you're helping to prevent a deficiency on their record. They're happy. You're saving them from a terrible situation. So can you make money? Yes, you absolutely can. Okay, but you want to be able to help families out. So the internet version of the county legal newspaper would be my number one tip. For people that don't want to take my free workshop.
That's incredible, David. And I've heard you speak a number of times. I don't think I've ever heard you give that tip away or that piece of advice. So you guys that watch Mind Renovation Nation, that's why you watch this show. Yep. We're talking with an expert. He just shared with you one tip. Go out and try to do it yourself. And then when you find out that there's a lot more to the process, that's why you take the workshop in the class and you get better understanding with David. He's incredibly talented at what he does. There's a lot of people who've gone through his course. People I know personally have gone through his courses and learned to make a lot of money on flipping houses. So you need to take the workshop. We're going to talk, and I'm going to share the link in just a second again about the workshop, David. But before I do that, let's have a little bit of fun today because it is Groundhog Day. And I'd like to see, could you imagine if groundhogs were property managers? I mean, just take 1 second and think about this. On the annual lease renewal, how do you think a groundhog would manage an annual lease renewal?
Oh my gosh. That's I just can't even imagine how that would be.
Maybe once a year they come out and see if they see their shadow and see if the tenant gets to renew or not.
Well, it's worse than that, Nathan. Now think about the movie though. How many times would they have to try it before they get it right?
Oh my gosh. What about if groundhogs were overseeing or managing renovation projects? Could you imagine the process of trying to manage? Do you think they'd put all the houses underground?
Well, no, I think your rehab budget would be over budget is what would happen because they would do the same cabinets over and over and over and see the contractors are going to charge you every time, right? Okay, so you can't keep the groundhog repeating every day, putting in the same cabinets over and over because that contractor will continue to charge you,
Oh my gosh, what do you think about the hibernation clause that they would have inside of the leases?
Well, I tell you what, I don't know what that is. So why don't you explain what that is?
Yeah, that's where they just decide not to pay their rent for a long period of time because they're hibernating.
Okay.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not. I don't. You don't allow those, so we don't
No,
know
well,
what.
that's my point. The reason I brought up what if groundhogs manage properties, you don't know, David, how many people I sit down with on a weekly basis and I review what their current management companies are doing as far as policies, procedures, or hear the stories. And I cannot believe the lack of professionalism, proficiency, and profitability that real estate investors experience with third party managers. It has been incredibly eye-opening since we've opened Red Maples in October of 21 to see the groundhog style managers across the entire United States, much less in St. Louis specifically. I mean, this has been the ongoing, I think the reason so many people are coming to Red Maples and allowing Red Maples to do their property management is because these other organizations manage property just as if they were a groundhog. They're unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. They let things go on way too long. They repair the same cabinets over and over and over again and charge the owners for this stuff. I mean, you need somebody who has honest integrity, who has discipline. And I recommend using my organization if you're in St. Louis, Red Maples. And it's because we do profitably, proficiently, and professionally manage real estate investments, specifically for small multifamily rentals. Now, Dave, I'm going to share the link for everybody. So everybody get ready. In just 1 second, I'm going to put the link back up that you can go to. We'll give the phone number out one more time in text before the end of the show. But I do have this quote that we can wrap up with for today and talk all about. Pablo Picasso said, "Action is foundational key to all success." And David, you are a person of action. I've known you for a long period of time. Why don't you talk a little bit about the importance of people taking action and how you learned that principle?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was blessed as a child to be raised and go into college and become an engineer. And so an engineer develops written checklists and procedures, and then all we have to do is actually then, follow those. So I've been blessed in my background to take action. And so I think sometimes it's a mindset where you can get all this learning and all this knowledge from places, but you got to have that little trigger piece that says, now that I've got that, I need to take, action. I was trained for 4 years as an engineer, to take action, but other people don't have that background. And so I think that, you can go out there and yes, you should investigate things. You should find, the best one that does this and the best one that does that. But when you get these pieces together, you got to actually execute that. And I think that's a, simply something in your mind. You have to say, hey, look, I've got an outcome that I want. I've got the pieces in front of me. All I have to do is just call up Nathan, get my my manager set up, call David, find out how I'm going to buy these houses so cheap, that Nathan can increase his management fee because you got enough profit to pay him. If I mean, but look, if you buy houses really, really cheap, you can pay for a property manager. So let's kind of dispel these people that are trying to do this on their own to save money. First of all, they're making mistakes and it's costing them more. Okay. And if you do a short sale as the way you're going to be buying your properties or getting your cash, then you can afford to pay a manager and get more short sales. Okay. It's like a self-replicating thing. Don't be trying to self-manage your homes. Okay. Have somebody else do it. And then you work on something, that you are better at. Okay. And stuff. And when you learn how to do short sales my way, I got students across 6 different states. I've got multiple people that are, literally retired from their day job because of that. And so now they're able to focus on real estate, all the time.
Yeah, and if you guys are looking to learn this short sale process, remember Dave has got a free 2-hour short sale workshop class coming up on February 8th, 2024 at 11 to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And he's going to show you how to discover these insider secrets to turn your purchases of these short sale homes into buy them a discount and make over $150,000, $200,000 on these short sale processes. You can go to thedavidrandolph.com/free-2-hour-short-sale-workshop, or you can look at the screen right now. I just popped up in the bottom left-hand corner, the text message, 636 685-2990, text WS. That's the workshop. And we will get you enrolled in this 2-hour workshop. It's only 6 days away, guys. So you're going to want to get signed up for this program. All the things that you guys have tried that I have recommended, I get tremendous amounts of feedback. People message me and let me know that they appreciate these relationships and people I've introduced them to. This is not one that you want to miss. You do not want to miss this relationship with David Randolph. And one of the things that my business partner and I at Red Maples constantly fight and see, we constantly understand, is that people have to buy the properties correctly. They have to understand that there has to be enough margin for a third-party manager for it to make sense. If not, give it enough time, and everybody looks like a genius in real estate because the equity builds up. But you're not going to make the cash flow that you're wanting to if you buy it to self-manage and then turn it over to a third-party manager, unless you're able to use somebody like David Randolph to teach you how to buy these properties at a discount, significant discount, negotiate with the banks, and make the cash flow that you've been expecting to make off of your rental properties. So I highly encourage you to take David's course. I also encourage you to view our program at red-maples.com/assessment. If you're wondering where you're at, what your equity looks like, what your interest coverage ratio looks like, what your profit margins look like, we will do that assessment for you for free. Go to red-maples.com/assessment. That's our program. That's our management organization. So, David, what would you say to the person today that's on the fence about taking this short sale class? They've been thinking about it. They've maybe even seen you a couple of times, because a lot of people who watch my show have met me at other networking groups, maybe even groups that you've attended or been a part of, but they just haven't pulled the trigger and taken your course yet. What would you say to that person?
Well, I would say you have to look at why that reason is. And I'm going to get rid of that reason for you, because this is what most people are thinking. They've seen so much stuff on gurus on the internet about, wholesaling and subject to and creative finance and all these things about mass marketing. I mail to 40 people, 40 a month. Can you afford letters to 40 people? This is not mailing $5,000, $10,000 a month of mailings and letters and marketing to try to find a house that you might make $20,000 on. Short sale marketing is simple. You can get the names and addresses if you come to the workshop, okay? And then you can mail them a letter and they call you. It's really simple. There's not massive dollars of marketing you have to do to get leads. These are very focused. These are public, okay? And so it's really, really simple for you to get started. That's the tip that I would give to the new person on the fence. What are you trying to decide? Why are you waiting? Well, now you have no excuse. This is simple for you to do.
I love it. Thank you very much for being on my show today, David. I appreciate the time that you've spent sharing with my audience the importance of understanding where the market's at, predicting the future, understanding some tips that golden nuggets that you typically charge people for as part of your program, giving it away free. In fact, you're giving the whole thing away free if they just join your free workshop and learn how to do this short sale process. So I appreciate you being on the show today. Thanks for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, Nathan, I appreciate everything that you do for our community.
Yeah. And that, Renovation Nation, brings us to the end of another episode of Mind Renovation Nation. Just like plants need the right air, soil, and care, our minds need the right environment to build a life of purpose, passion, and growth. Don't forget to get your citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation. You got to follow us, subscribe to my email list, and hit subscribe on YouTube to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Imagine what I'm going to do for people who did all three of those things. I got special little gifts that I've set aside just as a side note. So if you join the nation, I'm giving away some free cool things. So follow us, subscribe on my email list, and hit subscribe on YouTube. And stay up to date with our latest episodes. And if you love today's Mind workout, please share it with a friend who's as passionate as you are about growing their real estate business. And join me next time for more insights, inspiration, and of course, a bit of nation building spirit that drives us to create a community united with shared values, purpose, and a commitment to leaving a lasting legacy. Until then, keep building, keep growing, and let's lead more than 25,000 souls to this life of values-based investing. In our journey of Mind Renovation Nation, we often talk about personal growth, ethical leadership, and making impactful choices. Values-based investing is an extension of that philosophy. It's about being a steward of not only our finances, but of our values and vision for the future. Signing off from the heart of St. Louis, guys. Stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation.